Welcome to another exciting episode of Esoterica Podcast, where we review the unusual, rare, and out of print.
And offbeat. Don't forget offbeat.
Oh, well, you know what? I tried my best. I did it this time.
I'm proud of your son.
Yeah, VHS, vinyl, whatever,
Whatever strikes our fancy.
Yes. We try to have fun here at Esoterica, the podcast.
Yeah,
we change things up from week to week.
We tickle our mind. Hopefully we tickle yours.
Comedy is a place where the mind goes to tickle itself. Anyways, welcome. It's a whole new week. We just finished our last episode like 5 minutes ago, and now we're on round 2. And
we don't have a new beverage, but we're revisiting the smoked Hefeweizen.
Yes. Yeah. We COVID.
It was a beer kind of night.
It was. If you listened to last week's episode, you will know that my veins were filling up with concrete, and this alleviated that. Also, in other news, just realizing now, one of our former episodes, Fat Boys and Little Men, just 7 minutes ago released a new single, streaming now. So check that out too. Support local acts, because this is going to be one of those episodes where we support local acts.
Nice.
Yes. So. COVID. Man, do you know the last thing I want to talk about is COVID. I'm sick and tired of this thing. And you know what I'm sick and tired of? You know what word I hate? You know what word I hate now? Social distancing.
Right. I was just thinking that because I have never in 47 years said the phrase social distancing until the last 2 months. And now when I pick up my phone, if I type in the letter S, social distancing is what it predictive text comes up with.
I am totally okay with someone saying distancing. Adding the word social on it bothers me. Isn't that weird? Governor Baker said everyone following distancing protocols or something like that. And I was like, thank God he stopped saying social distancing.
I did see something recently where someone was suggesting that we switch to saying physical distancing because of the connotation of social. But as a Gen Xer, I'm totally okay with distancing myself socially from the rest of the world. I have no issue with that.
Yeah. I'm sick of social distancing. I'm sick and tired of I don't have a problem with the quarantine. It's the people. It's everybody else. Everybody not being humble. The people selling masks piss me off, okay?
Yeah.
Like, I'm sorry, just donate them.
Yeah, right.
Like, just donate them. I get you're out of work. Like, there's so much unemployment insurance going around. Like, you have other things to do. This isn't directed at anybody that listens or anything like that. If this is the only source of income, people that can't just be humble and do things to be kind and need to do them to try and make money or something like that. This isn't a shout out or getting mad at anyone. I think that we need to be better as a society in this entire situation. We're not handling this well as people. The government, I think, is actually doing fine for the most part because not like half of us are dead. Like maybe 2 or 3%.
And because we're both, to a certain extent, involved in local government. Well, not to a certain extent. We are involved in local government. So we just passed an order in our town requiring people to wear face coverings.
Which is now many weeks old.
Yeah. Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
People have reacted. Some people have reacted so negatively, and they're worried about their civil liberties. All we're asking you to do is cover your fucking mouth when you're out in public.
And I've said before, I'm not the type of person that's for telling people what to do. I don't want to tell you have to cover your face.
Yeah.
But I'd like to think that out of common sense, like if you're not already covering your face, like what's an order gonna do? You're just gonna fight with us now. I don't want to be the babysitter that has to tell you to put on a mask. At this point, like if we recommend and take it on to the store owners, just finally kick people out because of that reason,
right.
And
listen, and this is I'm calling out to everybody out there. Do you really want to be the douchebag arguing not to put a piece of cloth over your mouth because it might save somebody's life? Like, what are you giving up to do that? Other than the ability to breathe freely.
It's not the disease, it's the society. And that's the problem I have right now. So I'll be happy when this is over, just so that And it's not going to be over, because even if it does take 2 years to get over it, people are still going to be pointing fingers at each other, saying it was somebody else's fault that this got this far. And I'm so sick and tired of the deterioration of society to the point where we've just distilled down to the point where we can only fight with each other over things. Right. Like, why can't we just survive? And I am not calling for terrorism, but like the day after 9/11, everybody was nice to each other. Yep. You know, and I'm not saying we need to have that. Can we just have like that atmosphere? Let's be nice to each other. Look out for your neighbor. Care for other people. Cry. Get upset. My God.
Well, the crazy thing is, and we'll go down this way. I think part of the problem is the amount of time. Like, so Massachusetts at this point today is April 24th, just for the record that we're recording this. Massachusetts had been on like a 5-day decline in the report of new cases, and then it doubled today. We were like 1,500 yesterday, went to 3,000 today, and they've been talking about this second wave. I feel like, like a reference 9/11. You have an event that happens where people can like come together and have some unity to get through it. This thing just goes on and on and on and on. And what I'm afraid of is we get to the point where people have zero fucks left in their toolbox, and they just can't take it anymore, and we all go crazy and need each other.
Like think about this, right? How many people have died so far? Around 3,000?
Something like that. So, well, in Massachusetts.
Massachusetts. Yeah, okay, like around 3,000 people have died. Yeah. Right? Something like that.
Because I think it's like 40 nationwide or something. I
could be wrong. Well, okay, let's take it nationwide, right? 40,000 people have died, let's say, hypothetically, right? At the time of this recording, right? If 40,000 people died in one day, it would be a national tragedy.
Oh, God, yeah. 3,000 people died on 9/11.
Yeah, that's just the entire death toll of Massachusetts currently. Yeah. So more people have died from this virus than one day of 9/11. I get it. But the severity doesn't seem to bother people. It's one event that is causing so many deaths, and everyone just wants to fight about it.
Yeah.
You know, let's impeach Trump. Can we just not deal with that shit right now?
Yeah.
Like, I don't care. Can we just get through this, and then you can bicker all you want about that bullshit? I'm so sick and tired of it.
Amen, brother.
So that's all I have for that. I needed to get that out, and this is my outlet.
I kind of feel like we've been building to this.
I don't know. Something snapped at me earlier today where I had the same reaction, and
hey,
you know what it was, and I'm sorry to cut you off.
No,
it was seeing all the seniors posting that they're upset about losing their graduation. What the fuck? All right, I get it. All right, I feel so bad, and I am so sorry that happened to you, but you don't need to play the woe is me card for this shit. Okay, like most of you, I'd like to think, at least in Massachusetts, in our area, are probably going to go to college. You'll get a graduation, okay? And a lot of these things will probably get rescheduled. Just because it's not traditional, I personally would be like, I didn't get a graduation because of COVID-19. Like, I think that's kind of cool. Maybe everyone else is different. If high school is the biggest defining factor, you don't get to have a graduation. Like, you have bigger problems, my friend.
Oh my God, I want to kiss you right now.
I'm not trying to offend anybody. It takes a lot for me to get here.
Yeah.
Okay, and I got there.
It needs to be said.
It needs to be said. Somebody needs to say it.
So, maybe this is punishment. I don't know, and I hate to put this task out in front of you, but I would be interested, maybe like at the end of our season, of taking our musings from like the last probably 6 episodes at this point, where we start the first time we talk about COVID up until now, like that progression. Yeah. I think it'd be interesting to hear. I mean, granted, I could go through the episodes and listen, but I'm thinking of like a mini-sode where we just...
Granted, I could go through the episodes and listen, but I'd rather you do it.
And put it together so that everybody can listen to it. Because,
yeah,
that pretty much sums up our relationship with this podcast.
Yeah, and Tom Hanks gets corona in the middle of it. Like, that's just basically what happens.
But it has been. They're like, so we talk about history. We are living history right now. And you and I have been recording that as we go along, inadvertently in our musings,
right?
As this event is unfolded. We're a historical record. So maybe we only have like 12 listeners now, but there's a possibility 100, 200 years from now, school children will be listening to our stupid podcast as a record of the COVID-19 pandemic that changed civilization?
So normally now I would cut this off and we would start another section. I'm not going to do that right now because we've already reached about 10 minutes of complaining about COVID. Though we're just going to move on to our next segment of this episode that we planned on. And then you might hear an ad after this before we get into the actual meat and potatoes of the album. But what we were going to actually muse about before I went on a tangent about COVID was we were going to sit here and we were going to pick a movie, remove all of the characters except for one, and reintroduce the rest of the cast with the Muppets. Now, I did some thinking on this. 50 Shades of Grey.
Whoa, what?
Christian Grey is the only person that stays. Everybody else is the Muppets.
Do I have to watch him have, like, BDSM with a Muppet?
Imagine Kermit the Frog BDSM'd up. You know, tied up. Just... I think I broke Chris.
So I'm thinking of Team America, the unrated version.
Mm-hmm.
And there's that whole, like, marionette sex scene, which is just something that happened. I don't know if that's been done with Muppets, and if it has been done with Muppets, it's probably been Muppet on Muppet, but a human on Muppet, like, kinky sex scene, yeah, I think I'm broken now.
You know what was not a good movie?
50 Shades of Grey.
Well, yes, but Muppets Christmas Carol.
Oh.
That's probably fighting words. Mm-hmm. No, I didn't think it was great.
Yeah.
Just throwing that out there.
Okay. I'd have to sit down and watch it in order to.
Yeah.
I mean, I've seen it, but I'd have to revisit it.
It's this whole human Muppet interaction thing that I just like. It works in a kids show. I don't know. It makes me uncomfortable watching the movie. Cause you have those like cross species kind of thing. Like, where's the line? Family Guy has Brian the dog. Like, where's the line that he's an animal or a human? Because he's like doing a bunch of chicks, but like barks at the fire engine down the street. I know it's the whole shtick of the show.
Yeah. Well, and then you get into that whole thing where, like, if Goofy has a pet, like,
yeah, why can Goofy talk but Pluto is like a dog?
A dog, yeah.
Yeah, right? I don't know. Messed up universe. I don't know. It's like if Fido went to college, he becomes Goofy.
There's some things you can't scratch at.
No, you can't. You'll pick the scab and you'll start bleeding.
Yeah, and you never stop. So, all right. So you had some time to think about this.
I did send you a text with this in it earlier, but
yeah, you did. So I'm trying to think of a movie where I'd replace every character except for one with a Muppet. I just watched last night Spider-Man Far From Home, which wasn't bad, but kind of had a preposterous plot, I thought.
Other fighting words, Tobey Maguire is the only Spider-Man.
Oh, gee. Pulp Fiction.
Pulp Fiction. Who you keeping?
John Travolta, Vince Vega.
Okay.
And everybody else is a Muppet.
I want to see Vince Vega stab Miss Piggy in the chest.
Oh my God, yeah, that'd be so awesome.
And then she wakes up and she's like, "Oh!"
And see them doing that dance routine at Jack Rabbit Slim's. Like that would be, yeah, I would watch.
I want to see Miss Piggy drink a $5 milkshake.
That's a damn good milkshake. I don't know if it's.
Oh my God! And what is it? The Bible verse that.
Ezekiel. Yeah. It's a made up. It's not actually.
I know, Bible, but the one that he says, like, oh my God! Imagine like the bear doing it.
Oh my God! Yeah, a Muppet Jules. No, so I guess to further. We probably shouldn't get into this because this is like a half-hour discussion, but are you talking about established Muppet characters or Muppet versions of the characters in the movie?
Established Muppet characters, but I think that it would be funny with that. Here's why I'm thinking established Muppet characters, because they already have a persona. So you like take what you think of that character and you put in the persona of that Muppet character into it. It changes that whole film.
So like instead of Samuel L. Jackson, you got Gonzo.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Yes,
okay.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Which I think that changes it completely. But if you have a Muppet Samuel L. Jackson, it's like okay, it's just Samuel L. Jackson as a Muppet.
I might change my answer in that case to Reservoir Dogs, because I think that would be way intense.
Imagine the ear scene.
Oh my god, yeah. But either one of those movies, I would love to see. I would see that movie.
So Quentin Tarantino, please, for the love of God, create a Muppet version of these movies. Talk to the Sesame Street people, Jim Henson people, whatever. Make this happen.
Make it so. Make it so, number one.
So in this episode, we are going to be listening to Reruns by Bicycle Inn. Now, I've played with Bicycle Inn, just like with Fat Boys and Little Men. It was actually the same show. We played with them at. They are some of the coolest guys I've ever met. I was actually listening to them because I saw them before. I was listening to them, and then it was like me being a kid in a candy store, because they came over and just happened to start talking to us because we were playing, and I was like, you guys do the band thing that I like. It was really cool. What was appealing to me was, Chris, look at that album cover.
Oh my, I've seen a few of those around.
Yeah, so it is, for the record, for those of you that are not looking, it is a Old Colony Council Boy Scout who has earned Eagle, if you look on there.
Oh my.
Yeah, so it is from our local council at the time that this picture was taken.
And they've been to Philmont?
And they've been to Philmont.
They've earned the Arrow of Light and a religious emblem.
Mm-hmm. And they're Eagle Scout.
And they're Eagle Scout.
So
not an OA member, though.
Not an OA, or they might be and not be displaying it, for all we know. So that really was like, oh yeah, So this is a really short album. It's only 14 minutes long, but the tracks are like between 3 and 4 minutes each. I really like these guys. They have a really nice sound. Exactly what they sound like, and this is not a dig at them at all. I actually like this about a lot of groups, but exactly how they sound is how pretty much all of the scene sounds. Okay. It's kind of a package deal. You know what you're getting. So if you go to a local show, like a lot of the bands will sound like this sort of sound. I like them better. That I think they do a better job of it. They take more seriously and more pride in what they do. Not saying that nobody does, but I like them. They're nice. They're nice guys. I'm sure compared to past two albums we listened to, you'll probably hear similarities and stuff. But this is probably more on the emo side of things, I'll say. But we'll take a dive in. The first track is called CPR.
CPR.
I've had a lot on my mind, hoping to fall asleep this time. Say something to me. Say something to me. How many times will I call? Can you hear my voice at all?
There was one that was a pregnant pause. I'm not who I want to be. Just a sad thought. To not be who you want to be.
Yeah, it is a sad thought. I as an Eagle Scout, I can kind of relate if you're talking about the cover of the album to the theme of the song. Kind of like you kind of have in your head what you want to be, and like what you have kind of, when you become an Eagle Scout, you have to do a life purpose statement. Yep. So you come up with kind of what your intent is to be with life. And I look back at mine the other day, and I have done none of that. My entire idea of my career path has changed completely. And I think I'm kind of creating more of who I wanted to be than maybe I knew then. But if you asked me back, like when I was 17 and was doing my Eagle Scout, like, not really who I want to be.
Yeah. Well, as a 47-year-old man looking back, I don't think you can expect a 17-year-old to know what they want to be.
No.
Or where they want to go. I mean, you have, like me, when I was 17, I decided I wanted to be a funeral director, and I was going to go to college for that, and that didn't happen.
Now we wash rocks.
And that's okay.
That's okay. My girlfriend said it the other day. We were looking through old pictures of me from like probably when I was like 16, 17. It was a lot thinner. Like I just had a completely different like attitude about life. And she's like, I think your personality fits who you are and what you look like now versus than what it did before, because you were trying to be more of what you weren't, and now I think you're just happy with who you are. And I'm like, that's a good way of putting it.
Yeah, honestly, I mean, and this is one of the reasons I enjoy our podcast, that age difference gives us different perspectives on things. And we're going to go with the Scout theme since the album's got the cover on it. So as a Scoutmaster, I've always seen my role as to not treat my Scouts as children, but to talk to them as equals.
Right.
Because in your life as a child, most people treat you like a kid. So to have the opportunity to have an adult relationship where the adult is treating you like an equal, I think is important to a youth.
Right.
I'm losing the track of where I was going with this. I try never to be dismissive of a child.
Yes. I can attest.
I completely derailed that train of thought in my head. I had a point.
I mean, I can bounce off of that for a second and say that, it's going to take a long time for me to be treated like an adult. Mm-hmm. Because there are people, and a specific person that I'm sure Chris knows who I'm talking about, who, even though he's only, like a few years older than me, treats me like I'm a child. And it's irritating when I am an adult just as capable as anybody else of doing certain things.
Yeah.
But like Chris said earlier today, I play the game. And I play the game because I know that fighting with these types of people and these types of things don't really get me to where I want to be. See, that's how I brought it back.
Yeah. Yeah. Like you're so I mean when I first got to know you were a child and I was an adult, and
that's how time works. Yes.
Yeah. And we've become friends since then, and you are now an adult and I'm an adult. I had a really good point, and I really don't know where I did totally lose it. But I can say that, like when we're breaking down an album or we're talking about our own experience that we come to that, or at least I tried never to take this like superior attitude that I have a whole life that I've lived, because you have a life that you've lived. You're 20, you've lived your entire life. I'm 47. I've lived my entire life. So we've lived the same amount of our lives, except the number of years are a little different. But
yeah, well, when we break down an album like this, I think we go a lot more into depth than we would in normal conversations. It gives us an excuse to realize that we're not that dissimilar. It's just separated by a number of years.
Yeah.
So, thank you, Bicycle Inn, for giving us the opportunity to use CPR and revive these feelings that we keep bottled up inside because we have no reason to talk about.
Yeah.
That being said, because I'm sure we're going to have a similar conversation with the next song. Next song is called Weightless. I love Weightless also. CPR I actually heard first off of this album, and I had it on repeat, or EP, it's more than one. I had it on repeat for a while. It was really cool. So we'll listen to Weightless now.
The smell of your clothes. That line's sticking with me.
It's very olfactory. This kind of this song's kind of toying with the message that we got from the last one, where it's like you're not who you want to be. Mm-hmm. Now you're not who you want to be for somebody else. Even though they say that you're fine, you're not in your mind. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I feel that hardcore.
I know I'm fine. I'm doing just fine. I'm stuck on the smell of your clothes. Because you know that sensation, right?
Oh, yeah.
It's like, and we're not even talking about like BO. It's just that people have their own particular smell, and like it lingers on their stuff.
Yeah. Well, this is like the weirdest thing. It's going to sound weird, but I'm just going to go with it. Like, this sweatshirt, actually, the one that I'm wearing right now, my girlfriend used to wear it. So, like, when she gave it back to me, like, I wore it for a week because I'm like, it smells like her. Like, I could, like, it reminds me of her.
I totally get that.
Yeah. Like, and don't lie, you feel the same way. I'm just saying that to everybody.
Yeah, it's true. It's like, so, going back to the COVID, as I've been going out recently, I've been covering my face, and I've been using the buff that I got at Seabase.
Mm-hmm.
And when we were at Seabase, we spent a lot of time in the salt water, and we didn't wash.
Yeah.
Now, I have washed that thing numerous times since I got back, but every time I have it over my nose, there's a slight smell of seawater, and particular to Munson. And let me tell you, I love it. Like, it's a happy thought.
Yeah, I will tell you, if we think back to 2 episodes ago, I talked about how a particular song reminds me every time I go to a particular location, I have to listen to that particular song.
Yep.
Because it reminds me of something, and smells can do that too. Like when I smell, my mom likes to make chocolate chip pumpkin bread. It's like my favorite thing in the whole world.
I saw her post about that, and I'm like, wait, what?
Yeah, it's the best thing in the whole world. It always reminds me of fall, being like 10 years old. Waiting for the bus outside. I will always have that memory. And fall is not the same as it used to be because I work now. So it's not like I come home at 3 o'clock and there's pumpkin bread waiting for me.
Yeah. The working world. I remember being a little kid and I would walk home from the bus stop. My mom was a stay-at-home mom at the time, and she'd see me coming down the street. So by the time I walked in the door, there was fresh hot chocolate. No Swiss Miss. I'm talking hot milk with chocolate syrup in it.
Milk. That's
and
the key.
A cinnamon bun, like fresh out of the oven. Love you, Mom.
So, smells do in particular have,
Yes.
But this is the thing. It's like the things that like remind you and like force you to actually bring you to a particular place. And if the smell of this person's clothes is really bringing them to that place and
Yeah.
I'm also trying to read it and like interpret it maybe a little more in depth, but I think on the surface.
Well, bringing it back into the song, like I think if you're in a situation where you're not feeling like you're the person that you wanted to be, and maybe that you and your significant other aren't actually being truthful with each other, something tactile like the smell of your clothes, like sort of grounds you in reality.
Right.
I think, especially if you're feeling like there's that tendency, I think, when at least in my own experience, if I'm feeling like I'm not the person I wanted to be, I start feeling like I don't know who I am. You get that existential crisis.
Yeah.
So having a touchstone like this, the scent on a clothes, kind of brings you back to why you're there and why you're doing it.
I have to say before we move on here, but my favorite line in this whole song probably is, "Jumped out of bed and I questioned my footache, hoping I can stand on it."
It's funny because you ever have foot cramp?
Oh my gosh!
Jump out of bed?
I get the Charlie horses all the time.
I get those, like I seem to get those more now. I keep saying we're gonna go back to a scouting thing because of the album cover. It was recently. Do you remember a camping trip where we were tenting next to each other? I woke up. I had I got really bad cramps and Charlie horses in both my legs.
Yes,
at the same
I do
time.
remember that.
And I was trying to
was
be
that in
quiet.
October?
I think it was October because it was cold.
Yeah.
And I know I was making noise. I tried to get up.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Wow. Yes, I do remember that. So, speaking of Seabase, the next song's called Florida.
Oh.
I'll be honest with you. I've heard this one. I don't remember it. So this is kind of going to be listening to it with fresh ears again for me. So let's jump into Florida, but not actual Florida.
No, we're not allowed to go there.
I went out with my friends, didn't want to go home.
before we get into anything about how the song is about, I just noticed that they released this EP through the same company that I use.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Anyways.
So, I've lost track of time.
Clearly.
Because of the situation that we've been in lately. But at the beginning of March, I had an appointment with my rheumatologist. Mm-hmm. And the COVID thing was just starting to roll out. And she said to me, I asked her, I'm like, am I high risk? Because I have a compromised immune system. And she said, I don't want to scare you, but if you get this, it can kill you. Like, you will die if you get this. The reason I bring this up is because as this situation has unfolded the last few weeks, I've had a lot of time to really seriously contemplate my own mortality and the fact that I could be dead in the next few weeks, just like that. Mm-hmm. And I'm okay with that. Like, I don't want to die. We have a nice
I don't want to die.
Yeah, we got a nice little sample of me saying that. I don't want to check out at all. But I've had a lot of time to contemplate that. And one of the things that's very important to me, especially with my children, is that I've done right by them. That's all I want out of life. I don't care if I've not accomplished anything or if I don't have material wealth or what have you. I want to have done all right by my children, and I want them to hopefully remember me positively. And that song, like, whoa.
Yeah, it was, I mean, like, it was nice for me showing you a song that when you were petting your cat and then mid pet you go, whoa, okay, hold on. And that was, what's nice for me is that, like, you know, like, most of the songs I share have some sort of an impact on me, and they're esoteric because, like, nobody else would listen to Bicycle In from southeastern Massachusetts unless you're involved in the local music scene or you know about them or your friends or something.
Yeah.
And, like, this has had an impact on me, and I know that it would for other people too. So you having that reaction, I'm like, yeah, you know, like, I think I've done right by sharing this.
Yeah. Personally, I guess I have a dad complex. I go on record here. I love my dad, and we have a good relationship. But my parents divorced when I was young, and that complicates how you feel about your father, and that relation. You know, and we've been apart, so whatever. But that, I guess, it resonates with me when somebody's either singing about bad relationships with fathers. Like it I don't have that. What's in this song is not my relationship, but it resonates enough that like I feel, I don't want to say a kindred soul, but I react, I guess, emotionally to that. Wow, yeah.
This next song I think you're gonna like a lot because it does not follow suit with the other three. I don't want to give away what this sounds like. So I want you to listen to it. It's the longest one on here. It's like 4.5 minutes. It's called "And Life Was Better Thereafter."
Okay.
So we'll take a spin.
When I was a child, I thought like a child, but nothing seemed to change when I became a man. And at the end of every day, my mind couldn't help but play pretend. My current worries washed away while my mind played in perpetual sand, where my current responsibilities changed from reality to just things that I dreamt about at night. But when I would go to sleep and the suppressed consciousness would rear its ugly head, the nightmare became more real than ever.
There was a journey there.
Yeah. It's dense.
It is.
And there's a lot to unpack there. But I think that's what I like about this song. Like, you have to go digging through it to get the meaning. It's not just a one listen and you immediately understand every single aspect of it. Probably get the gist, but...
Is he talking about God? You think?
I feel like there was a part of that.
I kind of felt like, especially coming off the last song, that at least the end of this was talking about a parent, but the more I'm reading into the last bit, I think he's talking about God.
Mm.
Which is interesting. It's almost like that. I guess the same. It's sort of a rejection of all this, and then coming back to it.
Yeah.
And understanding. You know, I mean, that's part of growing up. We all fight against the powers to be until we finally begin to understand them.
Right.
Like, I think the day that I realized that my parents didn't know what the fuck they were doing, they were making it up as they were going along, I felt a lot of love for them. Like, totally took away a lot of the angst that I had previous to that.
It kind of drives me crazy when, and like, and not saying that like I know any better because I'm 20, but and not married, and don't have kids, but like people that try to parent other people's kids or teach other people how to parent when they don't have kids themselves. Like, I'm more than willing to offer input as to like what would I do in a hypothetical situation. Yeah. But like, I'm never going to tell a parent that I know better than they do. Yeah. Because I've never been there. Where is this going? My point is that, you know, nobody's perfect, and like you shouldn't try to be that way. You know, you do what you're going to do, and people are going to tell you to do it a different way, and that's the right way, and that's bullshit.
Well, and like looking at this last part, we tried to swim and float, and then realized he could do it, and then the parent was saying you'll never sink again. You know, that's part of being a parent too. Like, you can look out for your kid and you can teach them things, but at some point you got to let them go. Right. And sometimes they don't like that, and it causes a lot of anger. Yeah.
Well, we've seen that before.
But you're there to pick them back up again. I mean, I know in my life, like, I've gone out and lived my life and failed spectacularly at what I was doing, and my parents were there to help me get back on my feet again. And, you know, yeah, thanks, Mom. Thanks, Dad. Thanks, Bear. All you guys are cool. My stepdad.
I know.
Okay. I know. Well, that was more for the audience than for you. So this is an EP.
Yes.
Do you feel like there's a cohesiveness to the four songs, like, or are these just like cast-offs that they just threw to?
I think there's some cohesiveness. I mean, I think if you put everything together, there is sort of a journey here. You know, there's self-acceptance, acceptance of others, and then like a parent kind of issue. And then, like, you go through this whole journey, summing it all together, which I know doesn't make sense, but just trust me. Yeah. I think there's some cohesiveness here. Then, I'm trying to understand what the cover's for. I think the cover has no intention. Although, I mean, maybe if you take the last part of that whole thing, if you're talking about a journey with God, I mean, they have the religious emblem that we know. Maybe that's what it was, going through that and having that struggle and finally making it. You know.
Well. Yeah, like I was thinking that myself. I'm like, is that just a random image, or does it have some significance?
Yeah. Although, actually, now that you say, is this one of them? They're actually, this was released in 2016, and they were all in their 30s when I played with them in 2018. So, do the math. They could not have earned Eagle then. Doesn't mean it's not an old uniform or something, but, like, you know.
Well, if it's Old Colony Council, then we know it's at least...
well, the EP came out when that was still a thing, so
yeah. I would like to think, like, my experience through scouting, especially for somebody that makes Eagle, is that if you didn't already have, you develop a certain amount of self-awareness.
Yes, I would agree. As an Eagle Scout, I can agree.
Which would be a tool into this sort of, and this is the thing that I think I find interesting about emo music, is the self-analysis.
You know what, and I'll be honest with you, like, I don't even know what this is to be honest about by me saying that, but I mean, you'll remember, you know, back probably when I was active in the troop as a youth, probably the last like year or two, like Led Zeppelin, like that type of music I was really super into. And you remember that I'd play it on camping trips all the time on my guitar.
Oh yeah. That's when I decided you were cool.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it. But think about it now, right? So if we take this as a timeline, and this is just my personal reflection, I earned Eagle, and earning Eagle, you're totally right about that whole personal reflection thing, because I learned so much about like myself doing that project, because I learned so much about project management, and that turns into life management, which I think is a really cool, unique aspect of it. So leaving the troupe and becoming and pretty much being on my own from that sort of thing, I don't have a safety net to fall into. Like, this is kind of what life is. I graduate high school, I'm playing with bands now, and I started to get into more of these types of groups because of that self-analysis thing. You know, I like Led Zeppelin and all these other influences that I have musically, and I think they're fantastic. But they don't give me the same level of self-analysis that I think like Falling in Reverse did for me, or Modern Baseball did, or things like that. This brings it all together, and that's probably something I learned in scouting to do, is you need to analyze yourself to figure out where you need to make improvements or involve and work on you know.
Interesting. We did something right. Makes it all worthwhile.
Yeah, and you know, hey, there are 4% of all scouts in the entire world are an Eagle Scout, and if I'm the only one that thinks that way, then like, great. You know what? It did something for me, and that BSA's mission is to do it for at least one kid, right? So,
yeah, right. I made one little hole in the blanket. It's all good.
So, thank you, Bicycle Inn, for bringing us on this journey.
Yeah, this is a. So I will say that, you know, never having heard Bicycle Inn before, and this being an EP, it does make me curious to hear more, like where they go with the full length album.
Yeah, they keep it. I haven't listened to a lot of the new things because I did fall in love with this, and seeing them, like, they played CPR live, and I was like, oh my gosh. But from what I have heard, like, you know, the one or two songs, it's the same sort of feel. I think there's a consistent theme in their music. It sounds like this, and it feels like this. You know, that's what they're going for. They found their sound, and they're not trying to be something they're not. I love that.
Yeah.
So that was Reruns, Bicycle Inn. New thing for you.
Yeah, and as I was saying during the break, because we took a break. The audience didn't. This is an EP. It's only 4 songs. I enjoyed it enough that I'm curious to check out more of their work. Like,
I think that was in the last section.
Oh, was it?
Yeah. So, but to the point.
Yeah, it's 1:00 in the morning. I don't remember what I said.
Yeah, it might not have been. I could also be mishearing things. Yeah. No, Bicycle Inn's really good. Oh, and there are a lot of bands from the scene, and we're not gonna. And I think this is the last one I have scheduled for, other than our last episode, which is a surprise. But this is really the last band in the scene that I had that was like kind of like this, a band that I'd seen or played with that I was like, oh, you know, this could be a good thing to talk about. And really, I mean, to promote it a little bit, like, the southeastern Massachusetts music scene is a very specific place, with very specific groups of bands, but they're all sharing they all share like the same cohesive like feel, and like what you see is what you get. You know that you get this emo kind of like relatable type of thing. I don't really know how to put it into words. It just they all sound similar, which would sound usually awful, but you'll know you'll like it. You know, if you see this band on a bill that you've never seen before, you'll probably enjoy it. I learned that the hard way by being the band on the bill that everybody saw and didn't like it. So because it wasn't that, it was too heavy compared to that. And what I've learned from that too is how to make better music. But that's more appealing, and marketing better music. But that's a whole other topic in and of itself. I should start my own podcast where I just go off about music marketing, which would be insane.
You know, you'd probably have like 3 or 4 times the listenership than
I'll probably have 3 or 4 listeners, Chris.
Oh, see, I was going the opposite way. Like, I think that, you know, I like maybe musicians would listen to that.
I thought that, and then I started listening to a podcast like that, and then stopped.
Yeah.
And then I feel like that's what happens with most people.
I'm going to have to go out and say this, and I want to say like a absolute heartfelt thank you to our listeners. Thank you, guys. And I could probably name check all of you.
Yes, all 3 of you.
Yeah. We really appreciate it, because I think at the end of the day, Aaron and I just enjoy getting together and doing this.
Yeah.
but knowing that there are people that are listening is great. And as somebody who has an abundance of attention but has difficulty focusing it in one place, I'm the same way. Like I'll listen to. I've gotten into podcasts and sort of dropped off. Interesting fact, I guess I'll mention, to go back to the whole COVID thing, is apparently across the board, listenership is down on podcasts because people aren't commuting to work or at work, which is kind of funny in our situation because we don't have a job where you can. I mean, we do listen to podcasts at work, but I don't feel like you and I are free to sit and listen to whatever podcast we might want to listen to.
Yeah, I mean, like maybe on the way in, but I'm going to school 2 days a week, so when I'm on the train, I can just pop it in, or something like that. I will say what I like about this podcast too is that I actually don't listen to any other podcasts for the specific reason of, like, I don't want to know what everyone else is doing. I don't want to know what the standard is or anything like that. We're just doing this because the whole point is Esoterica. We're doing things differently. I've heard bits and pieces of other podcasts, but I don't consistently listen to it. I don't know what the standard is. I don't do a lot of research into it. I just know that how to make sounds sound okay from doing music.
This is our podcast.
Yeah.
And we'll do it our way. This is our podcast. Okay.
Now, I know I just said basically fuck the system to the podcast community, which is not what I meant at all. Yeah. But, just do this episode has been so chock full of rich discussion and self-analysis that I think we deserved this. This was great, and thank you for taking the time to listen to the past 45-ish minutes of
to go on this journey with us.
Yes,
I know. I was thinking we should stick to a better schedule where we're doing these earlier in the evening, but there's something about the witching hour.
This is why when I brought up doing this podcast after it was already midnight, and it only has 4 songs, I'd rather spend this much time analyzing the hell out of these past 4 songs and complaining about COVID-19 and talking about the Muppets and going on forever than doing 15 songs and just being like, yeah, it was good in the middle of it. Which is not a dig at our last episode or anything like that. I actually really enjoyed Daniel Johnston. But that's the whole thing. Like my mind wanders into places. The mind tickles itself.
Yes.
So, so next week we have a special episode. I don't know how you want to go about that, so I'm just going to turn it over to you.
Well, all right, let's go ahead because we have enough time in advance that if things don't work out, we can always edit this. But
yes.
So what we have done so far, maybe this is a good plug too. What we've done so far on our podcast is Aaron and I take turns bringing an album to the table that we both listen to. And as we've been sitting here with a lot of time on our hands and sort of assuming that a lot of other people have time on their hands, we kind of came up with this crazy idea that it might be interesting to get celebrities or notable people to come on and share one of their favorite esoteric albums with us to discuss. I have sent out probably close to 100 emails to just a mixed bag of celebrities.
I have sent one.
I've gotten mostly no responses. I have gotten a couple of press agents that were nice enough to take the time to write back that they were not interested, which I do appreciate. But we've been fortunate enough to get a positive response from Homer Flynn, who is the vice president, or probably at this point the president of the Cryptic Corporation, which manages The Residents. So for those of you not familiar with The Residents, we did review Wormwood a few episodes back. So Homer has shared with us one of his favorite truly esoteric albums, and we're going to discuss that with him on our next episode.
Yeah, and this album is not available anywhere. So for us to share this with you will be difficult in advance, but we will have probably figured it out by the time that this goes live. So take a look on esotericthepodcast.com. Albums of our episodes, or albums from our episodes, is the section, and you might be able to check it out there.
Yeah, and we're hoping to. This album doesn't seem to be available anywhere at all.
No.
So hopefully, if everything goes all right, we'll be able to share it with the world because I thoroughly enjoyed it.
I really, really enjoyed it.
And I'm looking forward to talking with Mr. Flynn about it.
Yes.
So make sure you tune into that. That's going to be a good one. The Residents is a pretty esoteric band with a small following, but this for us is like this big.
Yeah. It's they have a Wikipedia page, or Homer has a Wikipedia page. No, not Homer. The Residents.
Yeah, they are in the Museum of Modern Art in New York. They have a permanent exhibit there. So they were part of the beginning of MTV. So it's like this is it's pretty cool.
Deal. Big deal.
It's really big deal.
Thank you for spending the time and listening to our episodes. Don't forget to check out esotericthepodcast.com for all of our live streams, social media, videos, and other relevant content, including our past episodes and our upcoming episode albums.
Yeah, and a quick shout out as far as the live streams. So, folks, listeners, if you have something that you think that we should talk about, whether it's a topic or an album, or you want to be on the show, just fair warning: our podcast episodes we record in advance, and we have a set schedule for the year. But our live streams, we're making them up as we go along. So if we hear from you, we'd be glad to have you on.
Yeah, shoot us an email, esotericathepodcast@gmail.com, and
let's talk it up and have some fun.
Thank you for spending the time, and we will see you next week with Homer Flynn on Esoterica the Podcast.